Welcome to DeadManTalking. Tonight's show is a brand new series from the fantastic mind of Miles Castle. As ever, please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share, it really does help build the channel and our community further. And of course, don't forget to hashtag TeamFEAR. As I'm sure some of you are quite aware now, there is a new legislation coming into play, or a new law, regarded as COPPA, C-O-P-P-A. It's going to affect a lot of channels, touch wood, hopefully not my own. A lot of channels are already starting to be deleted or restricted of what they can do. It's in regards to protection of children online, and I couldn't support it much more than I already do. But very worrying times ahead. What I want to say, guys, and make you all aware of course, is I have my website, which is www.DMTForestofFear.com. As of tonight, I will begin loading up my entire catalogue onto the website for you guys to enjoy there. Obviously, that's a precaution and a backup for myself and my wife. It couldn't come at a worse time. But we're being positive. We're fighting through it. And of course, they will always be available on the website. And as I mentioned before, I'm branching out onto other platforms such as Audible, Spotify, Google Play, etc., etc. And that'll be happening over Christmas, if not into the new year. With that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled I discovered a secret passage in my shower. My wife leads a double life. Part 1. Let's get straight into that. Sometimes your day changes so profoundly. When you look back, you can't figure out how you arrived at a laboratory beneath your house. I mean, the concrete steps are simple. I was taking a shower, getting ready for work. Then, as I stretched my left hand to the discolored tile above my head that I never noticed before, the wall in front of me started to move backward. That's the how, but for the life of me, I can't decipher the why. Why was there a secret passage in my shower? I quickly dried off and pulled on a plain white t-shirt, some underwear and jeans. I called for Sarah, my wife. No reply. So I left the bathroom and searched the whole house for her. Her car wasn't in the driveway, so it seemed a logical conclusion that she wasn't in the house. Okay. I went back to the secret passage, this time with shoes, and slowly climbed the stairs with a flashlight pointed in front of me. The steps seemed like they went down forever. When I finally reached the end of them, I came to a large hallway that ended in a fork. There were 2 people where the corridor branched. They didn't notice me yet, and so I quickly switched off the flashlight and used the area to the entryway as a hiding spot. My wife Sarah was talking to a man, a tall man, looked slick and European. They didn't seem happy, like they were fighting. I wanted to intervene, but a walkie-talkie crackled nearby. Your husband? He doesn't suspect a thing. Thinks I'm at work. Good. Nice job, Sarah. You've been hiding this project for months, probably more successfully than I would have, but that doesn't give you the right to disobey orders. I consider Flo an asset, not a liability. She's already killed 3 of the men. She's a liability. Johan, you don't understand what a golden opportunity this is. An opportunity to annihilate the entire squad of mercenaries? If we can catch her alive, she could propel our research years into the future. I get it. It's your job to watch out for opportunities like that. But I can't risk any more of my men getting killed. Johan. The walkie-talkie cut out for some reason. I peeked out from behind my hiding spot, only to see Sarah and Johan walking away. As soon as they left, I started to walk slowly down the corridor. I didn't like feeling exposed. I wanted to see my wife again, but if she was with that man, someone who commanded mercenaries, he might decide to kill an intruder like me outright. I entered the first room I encountered with an unlocked door. It looked like a laboratory. I couldn't focus on my surroundings much because I heard growling. Crouching, then standing back up, I scanned the room. I saw a grey-skinned woman with bloodshot eyes crawling on one of the tables. She looked to be older than me, quite a bit older, actually. and she seemed like she was hunting. Her face whipped around in my direction, and her upper lip curled up, exposing fangs. I thought the woman was going to lunge at me, but a large man came up behind me and fired a gun with a silencer attached. He apparently shot her in the leg because she buckled and fell off the table. The man tried throwing a net on her, but she screeched at him and took off on all fours, pounding out of the door I left open. "Great! I've been tracking that desiccated woman for the past 3 hours. Almost had her too. I'm Eric Turner. You don't look like you work in a lab." No, I'm a little confused. I found a secret passage in my shower. I literally have no clue what's going on." Eric laughed, a harsh sound. "You're the husband to that woman, Sarah. You're not supposed to be here. In fact, Johan would kill you if he found out. Lucky for you, he's taken off for the day. Has a flight to catch in a couple of hours. You can help me look for Flo, since you're the only one that opened the door." And so, I helped Eric hunt the woman named Flo. He handed me a pistol with a silencer. He said it paid to be extra stealthy. They had run-ins with the dead from time to time. Fortunately, they kept them contained inside this underground laboratory. But Flo somehow got loose from the experimentation pens, clearly still inside the laboratory, roaming around and looking for prey. And had already killed 3 men, almost 4, I thought gloomily. Eric sniffed the air. He claimed you'd develop a nose for them after a while. Survival mechanism. I asked him if Flo was the first to escape the experimentation pens. He hesitated, and then said yes. One thing I found peculiar was that he seemed to want to capture Flo alive. Johan was the head of the mercenaries, and he clearly wanted her dead. Didn't Eric want to follow orders? We wandered the corridors for a while, and I was hoping we'd run into Sarah since Johan had left. No such luck. Once Eric and I went down this large slope, though, I heard Flo screeching from somewhere in the darkness. "I noticed you had a flashlight. Now's the time to turn it on," Eric whispered. He was breathing heavily. I switched the flashlight on. We only made it several feet before Flo came crawling out of the darkness. Her bloodshot eyes locked onto mine, and she crouched like a cat does right before it lunges. I panicked and fired my weapon. The bullet hit Flo right between the eyes. She groaned and then collapsed onto the ground. "Fuck!" Eric yelled. "You just killed her! Now how are we going to find a cure? Maybe you should join Johan's team. Kill him without thinking. This is just great. If Bio-B gets his way, and he finds a way to release the other test subjects, we're screwed! You hear me? Royally fucked!" And then Flo made a moaning sound and awkwardly stood on all 4 legs. She locked eyes with me again. I discovered a secret passage in my shower. My wife leads a double life. Part 2. Let's get straight into that. Flo's jaw extended to unnatural proportions, and she emitted a screeching sound that echoed throughout the large tunnel. Eric pointed his own silenced gun at her. "1 more inch, and you'll be wearing a lampshade to your funeral. I know you still got a brain in there," Eric said. Flo remained crouched and like a cornered cat. More importantly, she looked like she was thinking. Some mental process was going on. That's all I knew. More predatory than human. Eric slowly grabbed for the net slung over his back while keeping a gun trained on Flo. She seemed like she could sense what was about to happen because she screeched and retreated into the darkness. "Well, fuck, she's gone. Gone into the tunnel. Not even trained mercenaries are willing to go. Not even me. And I'm the best," Eric said. "What's the big deal with Flo?" I asked, one eye on the great blackness of the tunnel mouth. "Flo is special. She's not your regular infected. Sure, she looks feral, but she still has something going on upstairs. God only knows what that is, but it's more than most of the infected. She found a way to get out of those experimentation pens, and compared to her peers, that makes her a genius." "And you want to study her for this reason?" Eric spat on the ground and moved a thoughtful hand through his stubble. Thoughtful green eyes stared back at me. "As far as I know, with all the experiments the eggheads have conducted down here, she's the only infected that has reacted that way. She's a genetic goldmine, and we need her alive. The dead decay too quickly. Twice dead, I mean. Anyway, you get the idea. Eric scanned the black mouth of the tunnel again, and I reflexively followed his gaze. The entrance to the infinite blackness was stiffingly quiet. I asked him about the biobee he mentioned, and Eric just chuckled. Yeah, he's been here as long as Johan and the rest. He wants the infection to spread. Is he just an asshole? Maybe, but my intuition tells me he's got deeper reasons for doing what he's doing. Damned if I know what it is. Honestly, we don't know much about him. I'm a veteran with this kind of shit, and this guy has evaded all attempts to uncover information about him. He's that good. Never seen anything like it. And then we both heard screeching from somewhere in the tunnel, and Eric motioned in the direction we came from. I followed without hesitation. The screeching seemed to come from multiple sources, and so it wasn't practical to stick around. As we wandered the tunnels, I realized we had gotten lost, or more accurately, I didn't know where we were. Eric had the same stoic yet intense expression as usual. At least he wasn't disorientated. That was the last thing we needed. We found ourselves in another large tunnel, this one lined with metallic doors. I thought about Sarah then, and wondered if she might be behind one of them. I had been so wrapped up in the survival of the moment that I hadn't even been able to think about her, or what she was doing down here, and why she had lied to me. Maybe those answers would be more superficial than I realized, but I still wanted to pursue them. You seem like you're distracted. Thinking about your wife? I don't usually get along with eggheads, but she's probably the best of them. Kind and smart, resourceful. Trust me, she's fine. Absorbed in her work, but just fine. Once you're down here for a while, you appreciate the gravity of what she's doing. We heard the screech again. Funny thing was, I could see Eric's ear twitch at the sound. I guess it was a sign of someone in tune with his environment. Eric approached a fork in the tunnel. He stood for a minute, considering which one to take. I came up next to him, not really sure what to do. I was pretty confused and dependent on Eric for direction. More screeching from ahead of us, and Eric backed up and motioned for me to do the same. He readied his silent pistol. Careful now, Eric whispered, giving me a look out of the corner of his eyes. I gripped my own pistol, glancing at Eric, and then at the tunnel, and back again. Don't have such a tight grip. You'll probably fire at the ceiling when something comes popping out the tunnel. Relaxed but firm, you know? You know what I'm saying? The screeching continued, but what came of the tunnel at first wasn't Flo. Instead, a man in a sleek black uniform with yellow slightly furry shoulders emerged from the tunnel. He crouched and trained his own silenced weapon on us. Biobee, Eric muttered. It's him. Biobee just crouched at the fork of the tunnel. He cocked his head and spoke in something attached to those furry yellow shoulders. Approach, attack them and show no mercy. Do you know what no mercy means, Flo? It means kill, Biobee said, laughing. Flo came out of the tunnel. She walked on all fours, growling and showing her sharpened teeth. She made an attack on us, but the red light on her collar turned from red to green. Disregard that order, Flo. Attack the man in black and yellow. Flo growled and turned around, her bloodshot eyes fixed on Biobee, who now seemed unsure of himself. Do not pay attention to the other V, Biobee started to say. Flo lunged before he could finish, and Biobee fled into the darkness. I could hear his screams mixed with the screeching sound that I now associated with Flo. Several minutes elapsed between Biobee fleeing and Flo's return. After she moved slowly out of the darkness, she just sat there, more like a trained dog than a feral zombie. Hello, Eric, a voice emanating from Flo's collar said. I presume you have a friend with you. Bring him to my office. We need to discuss things before Johan gets back. He's well-intentioned but doesn't know what he's doing. Hurry. Eric gave me a weary glance. I could tell, just from that look, he had seen much in his career. Flo led us through the tunnels, back to places I found familiar, and before I knew it, we were in the same corridor I arrived in. Passing by the room where I met Flo for the first time. "Turn left at the end of the corridor," the modified voice said. Flo sprinted on all fours to the fork and turned left. I thought how weird it was to see an undead human being gliding across the metallic floors like some excited cat who had just been called to dinner. When we reached our destination, I ran to Sarah and hugged her fiercely. I babbled at her for minutes, and even though I knew she was glad to see me, anxiety bled through and eventually took over her relieved expression. "I'm really glad you're okay, Owen," Sarah said, releasing me from the hug. "I just wish you would have found out about my work in some other way." Eric almost forced himself between us then, and I could smell mint bubblegum on his breath. The loud chewing forced me to distance myself from the two. Funny thing was, I didn't detect jealousy so much as protectiveness. "All right, Eric, relax. He's my husband, after all," Sarah said, going over to hug me again. "I know. It's just, you don't know what he's picked up down here. A lot of filth and disease making its way through the tunnels." "That's the most bizarre excuse I've ever heard," Sarah replied. She smiled and shook her head, and then the anxiety took over again. "I think we really have to focus here. As I said over Flo's collar, Johan will be back soon. He doesn't know you're here, Owen. He'd probably kill you if he did. He's pretty trigger happy." "Then we should get him out of here. Back through the secret passage. That way when Johan returns, he'll think everything is normal." As the mention of the secret passage, Sarah blushed. I could tell she felt bad about concealing her second life from me. I mean, in a way, I understood why she did. There was such a dangerous world underneath our house, and she tried to shield it from me. You protect your significant other as best you can. "All right, Eric, you take Owen through," Sarah began to say, and then the lights went out. I switched on my flashlight, surveying the room with its tiny beam. I caught something, grey flesh and angry bloodshot eyes. I heard the screeching sound, a warning. "Damn! I'm trying to tap into Flo's collar again. It worked the first time, but something is blocking my signal. Eric, take Owen through the secret passage, and this time," I cut her off. "I'm not leaving you with that monster." "Don't argue. You're green. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. We're going to lure that creature away from your wife. This isn't the movie, son. Bravery can look like cowardice at first glance." For some reason, I didn't feel compelled to argue with Eric. Maybe it was his resoluteness, in the face of complete terror, that swayed me. I realized I was green. For some reason, I didn't feel compelled to argue with Eric. Maybe it was his resoluteness in the face of complete terror that swayed me. I realized I was green, far newer to this adrenaline-fueled sense of danger than Eric or my wife. I thought that opening jars or killing spiders made me the courageous one in the relationship, but I was wrong. "Okay, let's move," Eric whispered. He crouched and motioned for me to imitate him. Then he moved to the entrance of the room, knocking over a glass tube to get Flo's attention. Flo's screeching pierced my ears again. "Remember, Flo, no mercy, kill." It was BioBe's voice. We managed to lure Flo outside of the room, and Sarah sealed the door. I didn't have time to look back because Flo was right behind us, screeching. I blindly followed Eric from the tunnel to tunnel, and I could tell, somehow, that we were far out from our intended destination, the exit that led to my shower. We somehow ended up at the mouth of the tunnel, where not even mercenaries dared to go. "We'll stop here for a minute. If we're quiet, we might be able to lose Flo. Capturing her is a secondary at the moment. We gotta get out of here before Johan comes back. Otherwise, you're probably fucked." Eric and I waited for about 20 minutes for the screeches to die down. Just as we were about to head back to the exit passage, I could see Eric's ears twitching, and then, several sounds later, my own reacted. I heard frantic scratching sounds, rabid, and then Flo's face. Her collar glowed red, which probably meant BioB maintained control of her. Her eyes locked on us. Her mission was clear. Flo ran towards us on all fours, and Eric readied his silent pistol. I did the same with mine. I still felt I was clumsily imitating his moves. As Flo got closer, she slowed down, glancing at both of us. "Target E, go!" BioB's voice said. Flo lunged at Eric. He fired his pistol without hesitation. A bullet went right through her skull, taking the steam out of her predatory lunge. She fell to the ground on her back, and then into the darkness. I wondered at first if Flo was truly dead because last time she had regenerated. I didn't have much time to consider the possibilities though, since BioB emerged from the shadows. He crouched and fired his pistol at both of us. A few bullets missed at Eric and I moved backwards. And then one connected with his lower leg and he cursed like a sailor. Before I knew what was happening, I was dragging Eric closer to the lip of the tunnel, carefully sticking to the wall so that I didn't fall into the darkness like Flo. Fear pushed me further and further from the known entrance of the tunnels and into the unknown. Eric had cautioned me over. I cursed myself, quietly, and not sure if I would make it to the next several feet, but I did. And in the 10 feet after that, I was deep in the tunnel now, and I could barely see the light coming from the area where BioB remained. I could tell he was hesitating, not sure if he wanted to cross into this treacherous tunnel. As I heard screeching, not sure if it was Flo's or not, I ducked into the first room I encountered, shutting the heavy metallic door. Eric cursed and grabbed his lower left leg. I'm pretty sure I killed Flo, Eric said. How can you be sure? I replied as I turned on my flashlight. I kept it low to the ground, reducing the chance that someone would see us. I don't know. Killer's instincts, I guess. I could be wrong. There was a scratching at the door. I looked up and saw bloodshot eyes and grey skin, but it didn't look like Flo's face. A man in his mid-40s on the other side of the pane stared at me hungrily. A spider web of blood went from his eyes down past his stern jaw. Don't panic, Eric whispered. You start to panic, it's all over. Play dead mouse. You hear me? Play dead mouse. I tried to squash my panic, tried to slow my breathing. I turned off my flashlight and both of us were drowned in darkness and the sounds of frantic scratching. I discovered a secret passage in my shower. My wife leads a double life. Part 4. Let's get straight into that. I heard static coming from Eric's shoulder piece and then Sarah's voice. Hello? Hello? Eric? Owen? Shh! Eric almost spit into the mic. We're in a bit of trouble here, Sarah. We were attacked by BioB and Flo. Had to retreat into the old tunnels. This is a mess, Sarah said. Static reigned after a minute afterwards. Looks like Johan will be back soon. I won't be able to communicate with you as usual. Maybe I can tap into the monitor system in the old laboratories, if they're still operational. Owen? Eric? Be safe until then. Then, all Eric and I were left with was the frantic scratching of the undead thing on the other side of the door. I could still make out its bloodshot eyes and stern jaw. It seemed to notice that I noticed, and I promptly looked away. Eric was gripping his lower leg, wincing. I didn't know what to do. I had no experience in medicine. Would I have to extract a bullet, clean it? My head started to spin. All of a sudden, the gravity of the situation struck me, and I had to grab onto one of the metallic tables for support. I know you're scared right now. I won't call you a kid because I know that pisses people off, but I've been in tougher spots before. This is maybe a 4 out of a 10. What the hell do we do now, Eric? You're wounded and there's a zombie just begging to get in and rip us to shreds. Relax, Eric said. We can't do anything about my leg. Not right this second, anyway. But we have to find a way out of here. That's our number 1 priority. I scanned the room, trying to calm down like Eric said. There were a bunch of very old-style computers on the metal tables. I could tell they were working, or at least they had electricity flowing through them because of the sounds they were making. I went to one of them and pressed a random button. The screen lit up, revealing a log of some sort by someone named BB. When we set up shop here, the company I work for, we tried exploring this tunnel and mapping out the old laboratories. Lost a lot of men those few weeks we tried. No matter how veteran you are,
You learn to fear this place.
Well, coming in here wasn't my first choice either, I replied. You should rest up for a bit while I read this log. Might give us some insight into what we're about to head into. I went to the very first entry, so that I could have some context. The first entry said, I can't believe I fought for my country. My reward was an afterlife no normal human could ever begin to fathom. I died in a desert. Why should any person have any knowledge of their own death? Not only did I die, but I woke up in a laboratory, in a tube. My own brother stood looking at me through it. His face was blurry and out of shape. I could tell when the people walk in that he acted like he doesn't know me. But he did. He is my brother. I fought because I thought it was the right thing to do, and he became a mercenary. He always said he was smarter than me because he put coin before country. I heard what they said, that I died in the desert, and the government takes the bodies of those who have signed up for the CEP program. Nobody knows when they sign up what they're signing up for, just that your body will be used after death. I guess I didn't read the fine print, that I'd be made to be alive again, as they use it. My sister walked in, talked to my brother, not even making eye contact with me. The tube. I vowed that even though I was just a body in a tube then, worse than a fetus, I would become fully human. I'd escape and make them pay for abandoning me. I didn't have enough time to properly react or even read the next entry. The metal door was weakening, and the zombie had scratched and pounded it enough that the area around the thick steel lock was losing its structural integrity. Without thinking, I helped Eric up and led him to the door on the opposite side of the room. Despite reading what I did and realizing why Eric hesitated a while ago, only to tell me that Flo was the only one to escape the pens, it clearly wasn't a betrayal or anything like that, but it did make me stop and pause. Wait, what the hell? Sarah had 2 brothers she never told me about? This was basically my line of thinking at the time. Maybe that's why I was angry at Eric, because Sarah, for whatever reason, concealed the fact that she had 2 brothers, concealed the fact that she had a whole other life. The laboratory was one thing, but this? My emotions took over in that moment, especially anger, and I tried to suppress them as I opened the large metal door and shuffled Eric through. I closed and locked the door, struggled to push one of the heavy metal tables in front of it. After the fear dissipated, my anger subsided a bit. Eric was looking at me, which brought it back in waves. What the hell is your problem? Eric asked in a harsh voice. Nothing. You always say nothing when it's something, he said and laughed. I saw the look on your face as you read whatever was on that computer. Not important right now. Both of us have to get out of here. You need medical attention. I need to get out of here before Johan comes back. Yeah, Johan's gonna kill you if he sees you down here. Civilians are to be shot on sight. Otherwise, the secret won't be such a secret anymore. I thought about saying something concerning the nature of secrets in general, but figured it would be too obvious. I didn't know what to do with this new information. I liked Eric, but if I let on that I knew his secret, who knew what he might be capable of? Bio B was his brother, Sarah was his sister, and everything had fucked up written all over it. I honestly didn't know what to do. We shuffled to a set of stairs leading up. So many entrances and exits to this place. There's no telling where this one will lead. I've used a couple so far, but never from the old laboratories. We need to be careful. And then another undead thing came crawling down the stairs, its claws clinking against the metal. Its eyes glared at me, red and murky, as if it thought me more of a sufficient meal than Eric. It crawled down slowly. As it widened its mouth to unnatural proportions, like Flo, a red hole appeared in its head, and the head jerked to the left, neck snapping. I breathed a sigh of relief, only to hear more screeching. Another zombie came down, crawling on top of the first one's corpse. Same animalistic motivation. A bullet nearly ripped its head off too. I'm really getting tired of these things, Eric said, sounding a little bit drained. Good target practice, but still. Then we heard voices. Angry, irritated voices. Eric and I gave each other a glance, and we moved quickly to the side of the room that had desks we could hide behind. We barely made it by the time two men came clomping down the stairs. I heard Johann's voice, another one too, but it took my mind a bit to piece it together.
Fuck. Bio-B.
They were talking about Flo and if she was really dead. Flo proved herself quite resilient in the laboratory tests. Sarah has no clue what we're up to, but she's very thorough, Bio-B said, sounding congenial for the first time. I hope for her sake she is, Johann replied in his rough voice. They lingered for a few more minutes, talking over details. Then they proceeded out the door we had come, and I heard cursing. Then a single gunshot. They'd found the zombie guarding the door. I heard muttering too, suspicious muttering, and then voices faded into nothing. We both waited for close to an hour before we stood up. I quickly went to the door Johann and Bio-B opened and locked it. It seemed fruitless, but it would buy Eric and I a few necessary seconds. I led him to a set of stairs, pushed a button that went from red to green. I saw a trapdoor opening into what looked like a fairly luxurious house.
I could use a nap on a fancy bed,
Eric said, chuckling to himself. We slowly made it up the stairs, and the first thing I noticed was all the tubes lining the room we found ourselves in. Tubes with dead bodies whose chins rested on their chests in twisted yet somehow beautiful repose. I discovered a secret passage in my shower. My wife leads a double life. Part 5. Let's get straight into that. The bodies in the tubes twitched, and you could notice their eyelids fluttering if you paid close enough attention.
Shit, we really stepped in it now,
Eric said in a low voice. His glance kept shifting about the room, and he tightened his grip on his pistol, something I remembered him telling me not to do.
Is this Johann's place, or Bio-B's?
I asked. Eric shrugged, but I answered my own question as I wandered further into the house. I recognized the large bay windows because I used to jog past them in the mornings, waving to them absent-mindedly in a kind of ritual.
This is Johann's, I said. I remember the windows. I remember his face as he would come out to that fancy red convertible. All this time, a man like that lived in our neighborhood? You'd be surprised what goes on just underneath your nose, Eric replied. It's a wonder we're all still kicking.
After a slight pause, he went on.
And don't think I forgot about earlier. You found something on those computers. I want to know. It could be a matter of life or death.
I was saved from responding by my phone buzzing. All this time, I had my phone in my pocket. I took it out and activated the screen. An email from Sarah. I tried to contact you through the monitor systems in the old laboratory. I hope you're okay. Owen, I know you are. You're as resourceful as I am. When I hacked into the monitor system, I read Bio-B's files. I thought he was invested in releasing the undead from the experimentation pens. But I was wrong. Maybe that was initially his plan, but it's clearly evolved since then. Flo is his wrench in our old, well-oiled machine. There's something special with his suit too, but I haven't dug that far into his personal log. Eric came closer, clearly interested in what I was reading.
Now I definitely want to know what you're reading. I'll grab that phone from your hands if I have to.
I sighed and turned the screen towards him.
Bastard! It's exactly what I said. He has an ace up his sleeve.
More than one, apparently, I replied. Eric grunted and surveyed the living room with large windows. The tubes were far away from the windows, close to the back of the house where no human eyes could pry open dirty secrets. You might want to put coin before country, Eric, but you've lost the war, Bio-B said from behind us. We turned around quickly and backed up because he had a pistol going at Eric's head and to mine and back again. His mask was off, and for the first time I could see his pale grey face, stern jaw and green eyes. I could absolutely see the family resemblance, but Bio-B seemed grittier and overall darker than Eric.
George,
Eric said, sounding rightly surprised.
I thought after you escaped that tank, You wouldn't survive. I thought you were long dead."
Proved my big brother wrong yet again. Well, wrong in one sense, but right in another. I stared at BioB with a mixture of wonder and terror. Here was a man who held a secret to eternal life, or close to it. He wasn't just a zombie, but a lucid one. Not mindless, not demented, nor deeply deranged, cruel beyond reason. Here was a zombie who had retained much of his mental faculties. "I won't alert Johan to your presence," BioB went on. "This is personal."
"I'd say it's personal, but I'm just deeply confused," Eric said. "I didn't kill you in the desert. I didn't inject you with the virus. Someone else made the tank your prison. Why are you taking that out on me?"
"You could have helped me, but you chose not to."
"You never were very patient. I needed a few more months."
"Too late," BioB said. He crouched and fired his silenced pistol at Eric, putting a bullet right between his eyes. Then BioB just looked at me. All I could do, and all I could see, were the bug-like eyes and the yellow and black pattern around them. He just stood there, almost as if he wanted me to make the first move. Flo sat next to him, the light on her collar blinking red. "I'm not sure I could kill someone as green as you, but I guess Eric, my own brother, wasn't much of a challenge either," BioB said. "Do you prefer BioB or George?" I asked. I'm still not sure why I did. Maybe it was my own clumsy way to throw him off for a bit. Then Flo's bloodshot eyes gleamed, and I thought BioB planned to use Flo to finish me off. But her collar glowed green. "Eliminate the target, BioB. Repeat, eliminate the target, BioB." A voice emanated from Flo's collar. She growled and exposed her fangs. She lunged at him, ripping through the protectiveness of his suit. Her teeth found his neck, and blood squirted out, causing him to scream. Afterward, she sat next to him, whimpering. She glared at me angrily, but didn't attack. Then my phone buzzed. Another email from Sarah. I tapped into Flo's collar and heard some gunshots. "Is Eric dead? I'm hoping BioB is. And if so, use his Lazarus suit and put it on Eric. I read BioB's log. The suit is organic, adapts to its host. It's acquired all genetic information from his undead biology. My theory is if the suit is given to Eric, he'll gain all the positives of the virus without the negatives, which I guess means Flo isn't necessary anymore." But when I looked around, Flo wasn't there. I hoped she went back down to the tunnels. I knew I couldn't think about that right now. I went to BioB and stripped him of the suit, which was glued to his body thanks to a generous layer of sweat. I found it quite disgusting, but I persevered. I managed to put Eric's body into the suit. The only plan I had was to put Eric's body over my shoulder and head back to the exit. But when I got to the room with the trapdoor, several zombies were crawling towards me, looking desperate and hungry. Their appearances startled me, fangs and elongated heads, like they had mutated beyond the typical physical expressions associated with the virus. It made me wonder why that didn't happen to BioB. One made a sound, a cross between a hiss and a growl. It clicked along the floor, and Eric moaned on my shoulder. I fired my pistol once, but missed. "Fuck," I said. "Fuck, fuck!" I fired and missed again. The third time really was the charm, though. A bullet found the left arm, which it had been using as one of its 4 legs. Then another shot into its mouth. The zombie choked and spat up blood, collapsing onto the floor with another hiss, growl sound. My head is killing me," Eric said, slurring his speech a little. 2 other zombies were gliding along the floor, and I backed out of the room. Just as I thought things couldn't get any worse, Flo came up behind them. Her collar was flashing red. No green light to save me this time. I discovered a secret passage in my shower. My wife leads a double life. Part 6, the final. Let's get straight into that. Much to my surprise, Flo made a short work of scuttling things with elongated heads. It was a horrific sight. When she finished gnawing at her second victim, she darted into the shadows,
making those ears twitch, inducing screeching sounds. I thought I'd be dead by now. I wondered why she didn't attack me along with those lengthy-headed freaks, since her collar blinked red. Eric stirred on my shoulder again, and I set him down. It seemed like the Lazarus suit had indeed performed a miracle. My friend Eric Turner had been brought back to life again, gruffiness and all. After letting him recover, I directed him back into the tunnels. He was confused, stumbling in his speech, more delirious though than stupid. He became more lucid over the next few hours. I thought about what Sarah's email had said, that the suit adapted to BioB's undead biology. Was that why it had been able to bring Eric back? But the suit provoked a more pronounced change in Eric, at least cognitively. While his speech markedly improved, it compelled him to attack the undead further in the tunnels. He kept going deeper, despite my urging him not to. Deeper, even though he said it was a place even mercenaries dared not to tread. I lost track of Eric at one point. I just couldn't keep up. When I finally found him, he was dead, sprawled out on the floor of a cobweb-infested laboratory, and deep down, I knew that the Lazarus suit wouldn't perform a miracle a second time. At least, not on the same person. Not on the same person, I thought. So I peeled the suit off Eric, ignoring the deranged smile on his face. I was still confused as to why the suit had different effects on Eric than BioB. Once I zipped up the front of the suit, I realised it didn't matter. I started to feel insanely confident in my combat abilities. Not only that, but devious plots were occurring to me. The influence of BioB and Eric? The violent hand meant the conniving one, and it seemed to me the possibilities were infinite. A plan bubbled in my head, the most perfect plan. I'd used one of the computers in the old tunnels, used them to hack into Flo's collar. Johan expressed a hostility towards the half-cognizant zombie, and so I thought it was a fitting end for him. I made my way back through the tunnels, killing zombies left and right. Zombies with bulging eyes, zombies with empty eye sockets or domes still leaking blood, despite them looking like they had been dead for decades. There were a few walking corpses milling about the old computer room where I dragged Eric after he had been shot by BioB. I felt a resentment towards Eric then, and I didn't know if the suit was influencing my emotions via BioB's memories of his brother. I logged onto one of the computers. Then I realised there was no need to hack into Flo's collar because the original BioB had already done that favour for me. Collar 45B was one of the program's executables I could run, and I clicked it without hesitation. I realised I could steer Flo using simple voice commands. I never knew that Flo could move so quickly, even though I witnessed her in action several times, killing Johan and his ring of loyal mercenaries who chose to foolishly guard him proved to be a much easier task than I anticipated. A small army of them still guarded other sectors of the lab, but I only needed to kill those directly guarding him in order to end his life. Then I commanded Flo to run back to the computer room where I waited. I killed her with several pistol shots to the head, and then I pulled it off with the strength of 10 men. And for some reason, I didn't have the idea to pull her head off before to prevent subsequent resurrections. I couldn't savour my victory though, because Sarah sent me an email saying Flo had killed Johan. His mercenaries placed the entire lab on lockdown, but she was able to escape into the old tunnels before they could reach her. Eric's heart beat inside of me. Then, not literally, but I felt a courage I didn't have before. I wouldn't have went after my wife regardless, but now I had this automatic courage about everything. And of course, as I made my way deeper into the tunnels, I felt twinges of fear. I saw beings that were clearly the results of experiments gone wrong. A horrible sight. Depending on the researcher's moral compass, things would crawl towards me in the semi-darkness. Creatures made up of 2 hands clicking across the tunnel floors. I had to use BioB's and Eric's pistols because I ran out of ammunition from my own. The tunnels were absolutely filled with unfriendly experiments. Other monstrous things attacked me, and I realised the whole ecosystem existed down here, cut off from the outside world. Giant rats that outgrew their captors, lycanthropes in lab coats who tore the flesh from the bones of the mutilated rats. I only survived the former because my suit emitted a strange scent, smelled like lavender. The lycanthropes were soothed by this scent,
and I passed them by, the fear growing despite their placid response to my presence. I eventually found Sarah. She was in a room with one of the lycanthropes. He was intelligent and able to speak. "I have protected your wife from various ills of this place, but I have done so for a reason," the werewolf scientist said. "The old labs are a dangerous place. If you can help me catalogue the creatures down here, I might be able to transform myself back into a human being." The scientist offered me a job. He promised me he wouldn't harm me or my wife if I agreed to help him. Feeling invincible in the suit, I wasn't intimidated by his implication. I went up to the werewolf scientist and strangled him with a superhuman strength. Sarah looked at me in horror, but I would never harm her. I do feel like this suit is changing me, which is why I did what the scientist asked, despite not really needing to in that moment. If I can analyze these creatures, I might find a way to get this suit off me. It's changing me, making me more aggressive. BioB's resentment at his brother is combining with Eric's hunger for action and blood. Where once those things were separate and doomed to fail, they've come together in a holistic capacity for true horror. Sarah is staying with her aunt for the time being. I send her emails every day via one of the old computers of my progress, both with updating the bestiality of this place that's still so mysterious to me, but also concerning my attempts to get the mercenaries to move on. I realised I didn't cut the head off the serpent by killing Johan. Another leader took his place, paid for by the funder of this operation. I might be down here for some time, trying to find out who is ultimately behind the mercenaries and the zombie experiments. Maybe it's my life's purpose. I just hope I can live with Sarah again soon. Wow. Absolutely awesome stuff, Miles Castle, once again. I covered a story of his the other night, where each night my job is to track down and sedate a werewolf. I know a lot of you guys clicked on that one and enjoyed that one as much as I. Got a good feeling about this writer. Hopefully we can have some more of his fantastic work on the show. As ever, guys, you know the drill. Please do let us know down below in the comments what you thought. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And of course, don't forget to hashtag TeamFEAR. I hope you're all well and happy and getting stuck into a brand new week. And above all, remember, be safe, not sorry.